Mocha family, I am out here doing this video and I've tried to start multiple times and there's a lot of anxiety rising up in me, and I think part of that is because to a certain extent I've always given off the image that I have everything put together, and even as a mental health professional who understands that there's no shame in struggling with something like depression, I still feel really vulnerable kind of revealing to you what's been going on with me over the past few months. And honestly, until this week of having been put on a regimen to address the condition that I'm treating in myself, with the help of a professional, and I'll get to that later, I've just really realized that what I've been struggling with over the past few months has been depression. So how can you have depression and not know that you're depressed? I mean, one of the, I guess, stereotypes that we believe about depression is that that person doesn't want to get out of bed, they can't get through their day. And that is true, but I've come to understand that there can be various levels of depression, and there can be a number of root causes. Like, it can be a symptom of another condition that you have. So recently I've been seeing an herbalist, and through some work that I did with her, I've discovered that I have something called subclinical hypothyroidism. Now, over the years have wondered if my thyroid may be compromised, because I have a number of friends who've had multiple children who have hypo or hyperthyroid. And so I wondered if that might be the case for me, and I went to my doctor and I had myself tested, and the test showed that my thyroid was fine. But what the herbalist explained to me is that there is this condition called subclinical hypothyroidism, which means that you can have a compromised thyroid, but because of the levels of the hormones in your body, it may not show up. The lower levels of the hormones in your body, it may not show up because of the way that they test for it, that you have it. And there's some debate whether or not your symptoms should be treated or not. And so one of the symptoms of this condition is depression, which is why I'm bringing it up. And I may talk about the other symptoms later on, depending on how this conversation goes. But I'll say that as a mental health professional, there is no shame. There is no shame to struggling with depression, but I do think that there's a stigma in society about it. And I do think that maybe the public at large may need to have a broader understanding of what it may look like. So for me, I don't know if the levels in my body weren't high enough to put me in a state where I couldn't get up out of my bed in the morning. But what it looked like for me is that I started to lose pleasure and joy and drive and motivation in the things that I would enjoy doing before. And I also sort of lost purpose in what I was doing, if that makes any sense. So what that looked like for me was getting up in the morning, not really wanting to be concerned about setting up my day. Homeschooling became something that I did because I knew I had to do it, but that excitement and that joy and that thrill that I've always had for all these years working with my kids just wasn't there. And I wasn't identifying it as a problem with me. I was identifying it as maybe the curriculum wasn't what it needed to be, or maybe I've just homeschooled for so many years and so the anointing to homeschool is gone, or I just don't have it anymore, or I'm just burnt out. As women, I think we always come up with so many excuses or so many other explanations for what's going on with our body. And I'm sharing this story just to encourage you to consider all the possibilities so that you, like me, can get the help that you need. And so I think the most alarming thing was the homeschooling, because I just have such a long way to go. Can you imagine having a child in second grade and realizing that you still have so many more years to go and feeling like you just don't have it in you to do it anymore? And so I'll say that that feeling is completely gone since I've been put on this regimen to deal with, to strengthen and support my hypothyroidism. And so anyway, another thing I noticed was I started to lose the why, and I had the thought in my mind all the time, what's the point of doing this and what's the point of doing that? I'm a person who has always enjoyed cooking. Suddenly I didn't feel like cooking anymore. I didn't see the point in cleaning. It felt like a burden. It felt like a burden to work with the kids. You know, I would go and watch a movie or do certain things and didn't find as much pleasure in them anymore. And more, I kind of wanted to escape my daily existence. And for me, one of the ways that I would do that, I guess it would be Netflix for some people. Some people might be able to relate to, you know, marathoning things on Netflix, but for me, I enjoy dramas, Korean dramas, Indian dramas, international dramas, and some of them could be 20 to 30 episodes or more. And I would just, the minute I could get through my day and check off my list all the things that I needed to do and run whatever errands I needed to run involving myself and the kids, I would go to my room, shut the door, and escape through some kind of drama. And I had a situation where I'm normally an early to bed person, but honestly by 7 o'clock in the evening, I was just done, like passed out, knocked out for the night. And then I would wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning and start the cycle all over again. And I thought that this was a normal way to be. I thought maybe this is because of the diet, you know, my digestive struggles. And I have videos where I talk about trying to figure out what was going on with my healing my gut and some side effects I've had for food sensitivities. You know, I thought maybe it was because I'm a little sad because I've launched my daughter and my son and the house is different and it's an adjustment. I thought maybe it was because I'm not spending enough time with the Lord. I'm not in the scriptures enough. I'm not worshiping enough. I'm not praying enough. I had so many different explanations for why my body wasn't doing what it was doing. But when you put all of the symptoms together, then the picture becomes clear. And so these are the symptoms for hypothyroid: fatigue, increased sensitivity to cold. If you know me in real life, you know I am always cold. You know I'm struggle through the winter, can't wait for summer, love for it to be hot. But I feel cold to the level that other people around me don't feel, even people that also don't enjoy winter. Constipation, yes. Dry skin, yes. This year, I noticed that my shea butter mix, which has doubled as not just for the hair when I'm working with the girls' hair, but I've also always used it as a moisturizer in the wintertime, and it's always worked really well for me. But this year, it just sat on top of my skin, and my legs in particular would look cracked underneath, like that cracked, you know, from my knees down to my ankles. It would look like, you know, there were crevices. You know, they wouldn't be ashy because the shea butter would be sitting on top of it, but it would look like there were crevices, and no matter what moisturizer I use, I couldn't seem to get rid of the dry skin. You guys know already about the weight gain. Puffy face, yes. If you go back and look at my videos, you can see my face looking fuller, and I don't know that the weight gain that I had was enough to justify how puffy my face looked. Hoarseness, suddenly I couldn't hit the notes that I would be able to hit before when I was singing, and after a short time of using my voice, I noticed that I would lose my voice very easily. Muscle weakness, elevated blood cholesterol. I'm not sure about that one because I've not had my cholesterol checked recently. It's been maybe about 1.5 years since I've had it checked, but I've never had high cholesterol. And every time I've had it checked, it's been normal. So I'm not sure about that one. But the muscle aches, the tenderness, and the stiffness, pain and stiffness, swelling in joints, yes. You guys know I talk about my knees all the time and the struggles that I have with my knees. heavier than normal periods. Now, this is the particular symptom that had me running to a healthcare professional, because my period is 9 days long. Has all of the sudden, since I turned 40, my period started being 9 days long. It's not 9 heavy days, but 9 days is too long. And you know, I've been to the doctor. They've said that as long as it's a pattern, as long as you don't have this much more, this many amount of blood coming out of you, you're okay. But that also compromises your iron. So my iron has always been an issue because of that. Thinning hair, yes, I've been struggling. I notice in my late 30s, I notice. And so that's how long this thing has been building up. This area right here, you know, started to kind of thin out some. And I have a lot of hair, so it's not going to be evident to people who just look casually at my head. But this area is definitely thinner and has gotten progressively thinner over the years, as well as my hairline. You guys know about my hairline that I lost, that never came back again. I don't know about the slowed heart rate, but the depression and the impaired memory. I know you guys heard me talk about, I call it brain fog, you know, and I really attributed a lot of these symptoms to just getting older and the facial hair, you guys. You guys, if you have not seen it, check out my bearded lady playlist. I'll link it for you. You know, all of a sudden, after I turned 40, I started to grow a beard, thinking that was just because I'm getting older. But the herbalist that I saw told me, unless you're menopausal, you really shouldn't be dealing with increased facial hair. And so she put me, I went to see her. She's a friend of a friend that I really trust. And so I went to see her because after trying the traditional routes, I just wasn't getting enough of alarm from them. Everyone basically did whatever test they needed to do and told me that I was fine, even though the quality of my life had declined so much, not just emotionally, but as you can see from these symptoms, physically as well. You know, I wanted to think about seeing more of a natural path. I don't know, I can't remember what the term is, but she calls herself an herbalist, someone who is more concerned with supporting your systems so that your body can heal itself. And so you guys know from intermittent fasting that I've been on a journey to help my body to heal itself. And she told me that because of all the things that I've been doing is why I've actually been able to get up and go and not actually be someone that's in the bed 24/7 because of these symptoms. But I still needed some added support, and so she put me on a regimen to build up to support my thyroid and to restore a lot of the vitamins and minerals that are depleted in my system. And I've only been taking the supplements for a week, and immediately one of the symptoms that went really quickly, which is really not typical for depression, is the depression. And so that's what made me want to get up and do this video, because the way I realized I was struggling with depression was when the depression was gone. It was like night and day. It was like night and day. A book came in the mail that I ordered for homeschooling, and it was like, you know, some people get excited, you know, about clothing or food or jewelry or whatever. But I'm the kind of person, at least when I'm normal, when I walk into Barnes and Nobles, when I walk into Staples, when I order that stuff from Amazon and the box comes, I'm like a kid in the Christmas store. And, you know, I mean, a kid at Christmas. And that's exactly how I felt when that package came. And, you know, I woke up and, you know, my eyes popped open and I felt ready to jump out of the bed. So much energy, ready to get up and go about my day. I haven't felt that way in years, literally years. And I just thought it was because I was getting older, that I had to accept, you know, that I slept for 8 hours and I woke up feeling like I didn't sleep at all. I thought I had to accept that, you know, but now that my body is getting the support that it needs, I'm happy, I'm energetic, You know, I like to cook. I want to clean my house. I want to do what it takes to, you know, play with the kids and give them what they need. And it just hasn't been there. It hasn't been there for so many months. And, you know, and if I'm honest, maybe it hasn't even been there for a couple of years, you know, just because you're able to go through the motions. If you're really lacking pleasure, if you're really lacking any kind of motivation and enthusiasm and drive, it's just not okay. And you may want to get yourself checked out. You may want to get yourself checked out if there could be something else going on with your body. So I don't know if anyone else out there is going through this, but if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. Be blessed.